it is story motherfucking time. Okay, so today's gonna be another one of my nurse stories because I have a lot of those. So let's get started. I used to work on a telemetry floor. So telemetry is when patients come to basically treat a cardiac issue, like treat a heart issue, heart disease, something that has gotten worse or out of hand. And that floor is commonly known to be taxing, like physically taxing on the body. So when nurses come to work and get report, there's certain things that we get really excited to hear. Like, this patient is walkie-talkie, meaning they can walk and talk. Don't get me wrong. We come to work. But because we already know it's going to be hard work, it feels good knowing that some of that load has been taken off by patients that are a little less demanding physically. So my report that night, 3 out of my 4 patients were walkie-talkie. That made me feel so good. I said, yes, I love you. I love this. Give me more. Give me more. So she said, yeah, you've got a great group tonight. You just have 1 confused patient. That's fine. That's fine. And then she said, but he's pleasantly confused. You know what that means? That he's not losing his mind. He's not trying to jump out of the bed. He's not flipping shiitake mushrooms. He's not saying inappropriate things. He's not trying to fight the staff. That's great. That's great. I have a great group tonight. Wonderful. Wonderful. So anyways, fast forward, I get my night started and I'm like, yes, it's going to be a good night. I'm going to get everything done on time. I'm going to document everything on time. I'm going to be able to put my notes in on time. It's going to be a good night. Tonight's going to be a good night. Okay. So I'm starting my rounds. I'm starting to go into my patients' rooms. I've already introduced myself. It's time to get the night started. So I'm in one of my patients' room, maybe like the second out of all 4. And I'm just chit-chatting. I already did my assessment. I've been there for a few minutes. I'm about to go over the medications that she's about to get. And then I hear like a very non-urgent person say, can I just get a little bit of help in here? And I know that it's one of the staff, like I recognized the voice, but I wasn't really in any rush to run out of the room. 1, I was in the middle of something. 2, he didn't sound like, it was like, come here now. It was just, can I just get a little help? And I just assumed there's enough people at the nurse's station, whatever. So more time goes by, I finish up with that patient, I go out of the room, I go into my next patient's room. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the issue was, but I'm trying to get my work done. Okay, I promised myself on time. You needed to put a little bit more bass in your voice if you really needed the help, okay? So then I finish with that patient and I'm stepping out and I look across the nurse's station where my pleasantly confused patient was. And I saw a couple nurses like hovering outside the room. And then I see the staff member whose voice I recognized when they said, can I get a little help in here, please? I was like, okay, that's my patient. I'm sure everything's fine. Nobody over there looks like, oh God. And no one's like running all over the place. Anytime you see that on the unit, like whenever somebody's running to grab something and come back, obviously it's an emergency. But that wasn't what was going on. So I start to walk towards the, little powwow. And I heard the one nurse, we'll call him Jacob. I heard Jacob say, I know, I understand, but it's, we'll be able to get everything under control. Just do me a favor, stay in the bed. That's never a good sign. Like if I hear somebody saying, I need you to stay in the bed, that means that this patient has attempted to get out the bed and they don't realize that they're at risk for falling and hurting themselves and making me look bad. So I'm walking over there and obviously voices are starting to become more clear and, people are making suggestions. Sometimes confused patients just like to have like movement in their hands. Like we'll sometimes give them Velcro to play with or just like a ball to squeeze, just something. So, the other 2 nurses are making suggestions and by the time I get over there, he's on his way out. He's walking out and he's offering thanks. And I was like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, no big deal. He just tried to get up. And I was like, okay, cool. I go in, check on the patient. He seems settled. Didn't seem like he was trying to get out of bed again at all. I leave out, go to my third patient before I finally had to come in. I always leave my confused patients for last, just in case it takes an excessive amount of time. At least I know my other patients are done. So I finish up with that one and I walk out and I see another little powwow outside the room. And I was like, Jesus, please. I thought we were going to have a good night. So I start walking over there. I'm not in a rush, obviously, because the last time it wasn't an emergency. And then when I heard him say the very first time, can I get a little help? There was no bass in his voice. Okay? So as I'm walking over there, the nurses that were like, a part of the little powwow, they start to amble away. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's already starting to settle down. I'm still making my way over there. Obviously, it's my patient. And I see that he starts to walk out again. And he's like, I don't know, we might have to get a sitter for him. He really seems like he wants to get up. So I go into the room. I introduce myself again. Obviously, he's confused. He clearly doesn't remember me if he can't remember that we're telling him to stay in the bed. And, again, pleasant. He's just okaying me. Everything's cool. Everything's all well and good. So I sit him up. I get ready to mix his little applesauce and I realize that I forgot one of the medications. So I set the applesauce at the bedside, sort of away from him. And I step out and I ask that same nurse who's been super helpful, can you just please keep an eye on him? I forgot one pill. He said, yeah, sure, no problem. Obviously, he hasn't really been, harmful to anybody. So I'm running over to the medication room. I go in there, get the medication. I go back out and I don't see the nurse at the nurse's station anymore that I asked to help me. He's in the room. And as I'm making my way over there, I hear him say, I need a little help in here. This time, there was significantly more bass in this man's voice. So then me and a couple of other nurses, we start, picking up the pace to get to the room. And all three of us were like, I don't know, like a foot away from the room. And he's in eye shot. And he's standing at the foot of the bed. And he's about to turn. I don't know what he's going to do. But we just see a nice, solid amount of brown content hit the side of his face. And so all three of us, all of the nurses running to his rescue, we are all now too late. We just stop, like immediately. We come, all three of us, at once, we stop. And the nurse to my left was like, is that shit? And so the nurse to my right was like, that's definitely shit. And so then I said, oh shit. He was very angry, the nurse that was helping me. Very, very angry. He didn't yell explicits, but he definitely did yell, okay? And he stormed out of the room, and we all moved out the way because we didn't want that on us. And of course, now we're all standing there kind of wondering, should we stay out here just so that we don't get the same Code Brown treatment? You know what I'm saying? You know. So before I went in, I kind of just took a couple of steps and leaned my head in. And I looked at the patient, and he's just on his side with his hand just sort of in places that it shouldn't be. And it was then that I realized that tonight's not gonna be a good night. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.